Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here, 8th of July 2022, Friday. So hot on the heels of having fixed the Rocket 3 in record time, let's get on to the problem on the other three, the Ariel 3. So if you remember on the last Ariel 3 video where we recommissioned it, after a few test runs we got a bit of a problem where we seemed to have a bit of a clutch problem. So here's the clutch in here behind the fan mounting, and you'll notice it, I don't know if you can see there are two clutch plates and a driven plate in the centre with tangs on it. Now what had happened, or appeared to have happened, is the whole outer case had moved out, and if I can try and demonstrate it, there you go. That's not supposed to do that, and that would explain why when I was looking at this from behind, the belt here didn't seem to be quite square on the lower pulley. And in fact, what I can do, if you line the plates up properly, the tangs on the driven plate, you can push that back. Well, that's not supposed to do that. And we know we've got some tangs off the driven plate as well. So I've got replacement clutch plates on order. They're in stock at Sheffield British Motorcycles, now run by Andy Johnson. So they're on the way. But what we need to do now is get into here and see what's happening. It would appear that maybe the Washington circlip holding the fan and pulley assembly are missing. So what we need to do then is basically take the platform and the cover off, and that's easy enough to do. You can take this top carrier off by taking these pins out, which have got spire washers holding them in on the other side, I think they call that. But the easiest thing to do is to leave that on, I think, and just remove 4 nut stroke bolts. So this whole rear carrier is held on by, firstly, can you see down there, excuse my wrist, I can't get it out the way, but there's a stud from this subframe with a nut on it on both sides, and then at the front, just down there, you can see there's a bolt, and I believe it's just those 4 nut stroke bolts holding this on. And this one here on either side, the hole is slotted so you can just pull it up, as that's a stud. Obviously you wouldn't be able to get it off. So I've removed most of them. I've just got you can't see it from here very well, but over in that corner we've just got the equivalent one of those to remove, and this whole rear section should come off. I've taken the cables out of these retaining clips, I've unplugged the electrics, and also disconnected the earth cable off the back here. So all we've got to worry about when we're lifting the rear carrier off is the fuel line here. But I hope I should be able to lift this whole lot off, move it backwards, and then we'll see how we can just carefully remove the fuel line. So let me get that off now, and then that whole lot should be off, and we'll have access to everything around the engine, including that fan, which is what we need to do. Well, that was dead easy then. 2 nuts off the studs, 2 bolts undone, the whole lot just lifts up, and the fuel line is sufficiently long enough to allow us just to sit it on the floor without disconnecting anything. I've taken the driven wheel off, and yeah, as suspected, there's nothing holding that on there. so you just pull it out. So I should be able to just tap that off while gently teasing the belt off the lower pulley there, and we'll see what on earth's going on there. But it might be just a case of thrust washers and circlip missing off the end of that fan. So let's take that fan off. There you go, fan off with, if you like, its driven side on the belt. It just comes off this shaft, and what should happen is, turn this around a bit, the tangs on the clutch driven plate engage with, I can't remember what they call this now, engages with this casing anyway, and then drive the belt by this pulley, tooth pulley. The belt, luckily we found this, is knackered, but you can get, there's lots of new old stock ones advertised, but obviously they're 50 years old and might have perished, but you can get brownies, so that's okay. But also, the reason why I've ordered some clutch plates is, you can see there's 2 tangs missing on that driven plate. So I think, you know, this problem's been there for a long while, where this has been rattling around and then all of a sudden it catches, and sometimes it just takes a tang off. If somebody's trying to wind it on a bit, been flopping around all over. You can see on the shaft we've still got a nice groove where the circlip should go, and on the inside of that circlip you've got a couple of basically shim washers to take up any significant play, so that the fan isn't rattling around too much on this spline. It does have a needle roller bearing in the centre. In fact, it's compound, isn't it? So they appear to be okay, but we'll check those out. But I think they're okay. So we just need to, I think, undo these Allen cap heads here, and we can take that clutch apart then. And so there's a driven plate in the middle and 2 outer driving plates, and we've got new ones on the way. At the back of that we've got the centrifugal spring and balls, etc. So we'll check those out. I do have a replacement one if we need to, but let's take these out and we'll have a look at this clutch and see if there's anything else we need to consider. Right, that's all the locking plate Allen screws out. They're not countersunk heads, that's what I should have said before, not cap heads. Right, so that's what they call the locking plate. And what I did notice as well is we have got a couple of shim or thrust washers here, so we'll need to check those out. There's 2 of them. Need to check whether they should be on that side or the other side of the fan. I thought they should be the other side of the fan. We'll check that out. Then we've got a driven plate. A bit rusty on that side, but it's okay on this side, so you can see that the clutch has been working. It was stuck when we first got it. There are some bits and pieces of rubbish on there. Right, here's our friction plate. You can see evidence of where it was probably stuck. It's a good thickness, but as you can see, it's got 2 tangs broken off. Quite badly. And then we should have another metal plate, and we have, which is that one, with this star washer in the middle. So we need to make sure we put that back in that position, and then this one should come out. So I've got a full set of clutch plates coming. This one's been a bit difficult. There we go. And then we get the spring with its balls inside, which is the centrifugal element. Now don't ask me how that works. It's not like a sprag clutch. It's a centrifugal clutch. So you'd expect that spring to expand. I have to have a think about that, how that works. Anyway, that looks to be in good condition, and so does the clutch centre, so that's good. So all I've got to do then is, I think, probably replace that friction plate, but I'm going to replace all three because I've got new ones on the way, and then we'll be there. Okay, so we'll leave it there for now, and the new clutch plates will be here tomorrow, but in the meantime we'll investigate the circlip conundrum and see if we can get a spare. We should be all right. Just a quick addition, actually, while I'm here. I've just realised that, and I've seen this referenced in the past, but I couldn't actually work out what it was referring to, but there's a little sprag clutch in there to enable this fan unit, when stationary, to freewheel backwards, and that allows you to push it backwards, whereas when it goes the other way it engages with the shaft. That's correct. Okay, so we just need to make sure there's a little bit of grease on that, not too much, because obviously we don't want to contaminate the clutch friction plate. Right, that's why it looks a bit more complicated in there, because of the sprag clutch. Okay, that explains it. I've got my mind straight on that, but still need to think about how this centrifugal clutch works. If it works, fine, but it'd be nice to know the mechanics of it. Right, everyone, a few days later, and parts have arrived. So we've got the two clutch steel driving plates, the friction driven plate, they're new, and we've also got a belt, and we've also got, well, a few circlips, but we need one circlip to hold the fan on the end of its shaft, and shims as required. Right, so I think I've worked out how the clutch works. So the back of the clutch, we've got this housing which is actually tapered at the back. Inside that we've got the spring, which has got balls in it. Now I've got a spare one of those, so let me just show you that. There's nothing wrong with the one that's in it, but I don't know whether you can see it, but anyway, there are ball bearings in it. So obviously when it spins, this is going to expand, and I think what happens is that as this expands out onto the taper at the back of this housing, it pushes forward onto one of the driving plates, and that then compresses the three plates together to provide the drive, and the driven plate engages with the fan housing to drive the belt to the driving axle on the wheel, but also obviously the fan. The fan goes obviously that way around on the end of this shaft, and it should be held on by any shim washers that are required, plus a circlip on that groove. The groove's in good condition. There was nothing there before, so the fan was just moving off and on, flapping about, which was why I was having problems. So I'll now just put this together. It's not going to take long. The little spring, we mustn't forget that in the middle, because that is what ensures the plates part when this spring contracts, i.e. when you go down to a slower speed and stop, it'll allow the engine to tick over and disengage the drive. So as long as we put all that back in the right order, and then put the locking plate on the end with its 6 countersunk screws, followed by the fan at the same time with the belt, so we can slide it on the other wheel. Yes, we can. And then we finish it all off with a circlip, and we then should have a drive. Before I do that though, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a clean up. There's a bit of muck in the clutch housing itself. We'll get rid of that, but then we'll get that together, and then we'll just give it a general clean around in here with all its back panels off. Right, so I'll get on with that lot, and I'll bring you back once the clutch and the fan have been reassembled. Right, everything together. Before I put the third wheel back on and stand it upright and show you the clutch and everything together, just to show the other side of the fan, all it's held onto the shaft with is that circlip, which was missing, and there's a couple of shim washers behind that, and that's slotted in there really nicely. It is a 1mm thick circlip. Anyway, that's the spec, but that's together. Let me just put a wheel on and put it on all 3 now, and I'll just show you the rest of the clutch together. And there we are with from the top side, clutch all together. There is a bit of play still with the fan moving on the shaft. There it is. So I might just actually take that circlip out and put another couple of shims in while I'm at it. But new belt on, tensioned or up, okay, and that should work a lot better. As you can see, it's freewheeling backwards, which it's supposed to, and then when you go forward, the sprag behind the fan here engages with the motor, so you can turn the motor over that way. But for pedalling, etc., you've got the little decompressor valve here, which is operated by turning the twist grip in the opposite direction while you start pedaling. Then you let it go, put some throttle on with some choke, and off you go, sometimes in quite a few yards. Right, let me take the driven wheel back off, just so I can just shim this a little bit more to reduce that side to side movement, so we don't run the risk of breaking tangs off this driven friction plate, because it's not very strong, that, but anyway, that's as per spec. And then we'll put the covers back on it. The next aptitude test is, this is the fan housing, which sort of sits over the top of the fan, obviously, and it's mounted on the inside of the main cover at the back there, but it has a groove in it for a rear brake cable, which is this one here. And the trouble is, you can't put it on afterwards with all 5 mounting bolts, because you just can't get in there. So I think the easiest thing to do is going to be to mount that cover onto the main platform, and then take this cable off at the bottom there and feed it through. Okay, right, let's get that on now. Right, there we go. All back together and buttoned up. You can't really see too much of what we've been working on because it's covered by the fan guard. But now it's time for a test. I'm only going to go up and down the road briefly, and I'll pop back, and then if it's ticking over okay, I'll do a quick clip of that. But I don't want to go too far on this yet. It's all road legal, but I don't want to go too far because I don't trust these tyres. The driven wheel one is quite worn, as you'd expect, and yes, I can swap the tyres, or sorry, the wheels around. But the others aren't in too good nick either and beginning to crack. So these tyres are quite old. So I do have a full set on order, including for the spur wheel as well. I can't remember the name of the make of the tyres. Begins with K. Oh. Anyway, they're not. Well, I was going to say they're not easy to get, but I've found a supplier in Europe. So once we get the new tyres on it, then we'll get some video of some serious ride outs to give it a good test. But for the moment anyway, let's just see if we can fire it up and just get it ticking over and make sure the clutch works. That's the main thing. The other thing I've done as well is just adjust it for me. I've raised the seat a bit to make it easier to pedal from the off. There is a bit of compression on the engine, even though it's got a decompressor. There's a bit of resistance, and also the same for the handlebars, moved them forward a bit. So it is all adjustable. Anyway, let's get the helmet on and just give it a zing. There we go, success. She fired up really quickly. Didn't take the number of yards that they normally do, so that's great. Seems to be quite happy just idling away there. Bit of vibration on the back. I don't think you can see that actually. Maybe you can. Anyway, dead chuffed with that. So we'll leave it there and just await the new tyres. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Thanks for your interest. Any subscriptions and comments, and I'll see you all again soon. Cheers, bye bye.